The Naked Gun is the dumbest movie of the year, but that's what makes it great and why it is everything that a comedy should be, so let's talk about it. But as always, before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Erin and I talk all things movies and TV, but really mostly movies, so if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, and if you like my videos while you're at it, hit that like button as well. And of course, if you've already seen the movie, let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments, but without further ado, let's talk about The Naked Gun. So this movie is a reboot / remake of the original Naked Gun movie, which also turned into a trilogy starring Leslie Nielsen as Frank Drebin. And in this movie, we follow his son, Frank Drebin Jr., played by Liam Neeson, who must get to the bottom of a murder case and also stop the police squad from closing down. Jumping right into the good, and the first thing I have here is that Liam Neeson is probably the best part of this movie. He was so committed to this role. It just seemed like he was on a mission to make a complete fool of himself in this movie, and it's safe to say that he accomplished that goal and then some. We usually know him as this serious action star, but man, I need to see him in more comedies now. The only other comedy movie I've seen him in is Ted, and he has one of the funniest little cameos in that movie. And when it came to this movie, I was laughing at just about everything that came out of this man's mouth. I think what made it so funny is that even though, yes, his character was goofy, he was also completely serious at the same time, so all the things that he was doing and saying were just made so much funnier because of that. But I also think that's what made this movie work. I think this movie would have felt completely different if they would have casted your typical comedian or comedy actor in this. It probably still would have been pretty funny, but it would have felt like they were trying to be funny instead of this movie just being naturally funny because we have this serious guy put in this absurd, wacky plot, and they have the perfect guy to pull that off in Liam Neeson because he's been known to just play serious action roles. Then you combine that with Pamala Anderson, and those two were just great together on screen. She was also committed to making a complete fool of herself in this movie, and it worked. They had great chemistry together and really gave us some of the funniest moments of this film. But speaking of funny moments, the next thing I have for the good is obviously the humor. Now this is hands down and easily the funniest movie of the year. It really feels like a return to those old school comedies and spoofs that we were getting a couple of decades ago. This movie is non-stop jokes for 90 minutes straight, and pretty much everything that is said is either a setup or a punchline to a joke, and I gotta say, a majority of it is pretty hilarious. Everything from the physical comedy to the visual gags and even the one-liners were getting a laugh out of me. Now obviously not every single joke hit, but these jokes were coming in so fast that when you did get one that fell flat, you immediately forgot about it because it was followed up by a funnier joke. This movie is just everything that a comedy should be. It was completely self-aware and it 100% leaned into that. I mean, there is a line in this movie where Frank Drebin is talking to a picture of his dad and he says, "I want to be just like you, but different in a completely original way." And that line right there just sums up everything this movie was and what it was trying to do and be. Moving on to the so-so, and the first thing I have here is that as funny as this movie was, there were a couple of jokes that I wish they didn't show in the trailers, because there were some times in this movie where I was like, man, that would have been so much funnier if I hadn't already seen it in the trailers. I just think some of the surprise and shock value was kind of taken out of a couple of jokes in this movie because we had already seen it in the trailers. And then to add on to that, in my opinion, as much as I enjoyed this movie and I thought it was hilarious, I don't know how rewatchable this movie will be for me. I've seen this movie twice now, and I have to say it wasn't as funny the second time around. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed my time with it and I still had plenty of laughs, but if I had to choose between rewatching this movie and rewatching the original, I would probably choose the original. That's not a knock on this movie, I just think the humor from the original holds up a little bit better. And finally, getting into the bad, and the only thing I have here is something that I expected from this movie, and that is that the story and the narrative just was pretty weak and could be torn apart pretty easily, but that was not this movie's goal, to have this amazing story. It was all about Liam Neeson and the jokes, and they did that very well. I mean, this movie starts with someone literally stealing a device that is called plot device, so it was clear from the very first frame of this movie that it was not taking itself seriously and that it was completely self-aware. So yes, technically the plot in this was very thin, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day because this is just not that type of movie. But for my final thoughts, again, this is the funniest movie of the year and by far one of the funnier movies I've seen in a while. Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson carry this thing and it is a return to classic comedies of the past. It's a bunch of dumb fun with a lot of laughs and a movie that I would definitely recommend. Those are my thoughts on The Naked Gun. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.